Most people will scroll past this because they've forgotten what they're made of. Not you. Something brought you here, a whisper, a weight, a quiet fire you can't explain. This isn't a message for the masses. It's a mirror for the few who feel the pressure because they're carrying something greater. You're not lost, you're being forged. And every trial, every doubt, every delay has been preparing you to remember what you really are. You were built for this, so act like it. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who wait to be told who they are, and those who decide it for themselves. And the question that will follow you in the silence of the morning, in the pressure of the moment, and in the mirror of your final days is this: did you act like the person you were created to be, or did you settle for the version fear-handed chose you? Because make no mistake, you were built for this, not for comfort, not for safety, not for hiding in the crowd. You were built for battle, for building, for becoming, but somewhere along the way, the world convinced you to forget. You were born with fire, but you've been taught to tame it. You've been trained to fit in, to be nice, to be patient, to be quiet, when what you needed was to be relentless. You were told to wait your turn, to earn permission, to blend in, follow rules, check boxes. But rules were made for people who want predictable lives. And you were built for impact. You weren't designed to be average. You weren't wired to be passive. That uneasiness you feel, that frustration, that pull inside your chest that says there's more, that's not anxiety, that's misalignment. That's greatness trying to breathe in an environment built for smallness. Let's get something straight. Your future isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's waiting for you to remember who you are. Because power isn't something you find, it's something you reclaim. It's already inside you, buried under every excuse you've ever made, hidden beneath every moment you hesitated. But it's there, and it's waiting. And if you want to access it, you must stop asking for permission. You must stop living like you're here to survive when you were born to dominate. This world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. It doesn't care what you could have done. It only responds to what you show up and do. So the next time that voice of doubt creeps in, the next time fear tells you to play it safe, look it in the eye and say, not today, not anymore. Because I was built for this, and it's time I started acting like it. Mindset, that's where it all begins. Not in what you have, not in where you're from, in how you think. Because how you think is how you live. And most people, they don't think, they react. They exist on autopilot, drifting through life based on feelings, trends, and fear. But the one who wins, the one who leaves impact behind when they go, they engineer their thinking. They don't just hope for better days, they build better days from the inside out. That's what Napoleon Hill meant when he said, what the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. But you can't achieve anything with a scattered mind, a lazy mind, a reactive mind. You must train your mind like a weapon. Sharpen it, focus it, use it with discipline. Because the moment you control your thoughts, you begin to control your life. Clarity isn't something that lands in your lap. It's something you fight for. You get clear when you get quiet. You get clear when you turn down the volume on the world and turn up the volume on your purpose. Because if you don't know what you want, you'll chase everything and catch nothing. You'll run in circles. You'll burn out. You'll build a life that looks good but feels hollow. Clarity is knowing where you're going and why it matters. It's when the noise disappears. It's when your yes means yes and your no means no. It's when you stop being swayed by emotion and start being driven by principle. And that's when your life begins to change, because now every step has direction. Every move has meaning. Once you have clarity, you unlock vision. And vision that's sacred. Vision is what pulls you forward when motivation runs dry. It's what whispers keep going when everything in you says stop. It's what separates leaders from followers, because followers need reassurance. But leaders see what others can't, and they act accordingly. Walt Disney saw castles before they were built. Ford saw factories before they existed. Carnegie saw steel shaping nations before the world even understood his ambition, and every one of them was told they were crazy until they were called genius. That's the price of vision. It costs misunderstanding. But the visionary doesn't mind, because their mission matters more than their comfort. Purpose, that's your anchor. In a world full of shifting sands of trends, opinions, criticism, and doubt, purpose is the rock you build on. It's the reason you refuse to quit. It's the why behind the pain. It's the voice that says, this is worth it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Purpose turns setbacks into strategy. It turns losses into lessons. It gives your suffering context. And when you have context, pain doesn't stop you, it shapes you. When you have purpose, you don't run from the fire, you walk into it because you know that fire is where greatness is forged. And now comes the part nobody wants to hear. Discipline. You can dream all day, you can journal, vision board, meditate, but if you don't act with discipline, you'll live a life of quiet regret. Discipline is doing it when you don't feel like it. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's keeping your word, especially to yourself. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. Because motivation may inspire the start, but only discipline builds the finish. You think the greats felt like it every day. You think Carnegie wanted to keep grinding at 2 a.m. You think Edison loved every failed experiment number, but they showed up. Because their future demanded it, because their standards didn't bend to their feelings, because they were built for it, and they acted like it every single day. You were built for this. That fire in your gut, that pressure in your chest, that ache in your soul to do more, become more, create more, that's not coincidence, it's remembrance, a calling. A quiet roar from the deepest part of you saying, I'm still here, and I'm not done yet. You see, the world wants you to forget. It wants you distracted, comfortably numb, seduced by speed, convenience, scrolling anything to keep you from building. Because a distracted mind never questions its limits. It never rewrites its story. It just drifts from notification to opinion to anxiety and back again. Until one day you wake up and realize you've existed your way through life instead of living it. But not you, not anymore. Because now you know you weren't made for comfort, you were made for clarity. You weren't made to consume, you were made to create. You weren't made to survive, you were made to lead. And leadership starts with one thing, self-command. If you cannot lead your own mind, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's. Your feelings will lead you, your fears will lead you, your past will lead you. And everything you're capable of, every gift, every breakthrough, every legacy will be buried beneath a mountain of hesitation and second-guessing. Self-leadership means this: you rise when it's inconvenient. You speak when it's uncomfortable. You act when it's terrifying. Because you understand power isn't found in avoidance. It's found in resistance. It's forged in the friction between where you are and where you refuse to stay. That's the test most people fail. Not because they weren't good enough, but because they never stayed long enough in the fire to become who they could have been. Let's be real. It's not your talent that's stopping you. It's not time. It's not even fear. It's the habit of escaping the work, of negotiating with excuses, of hitting the snooze button, not just on your alarm, but on your calling. You say you're waiting for clarity. No, you're not. You're waiting for comfort, for the conditions to feel right, for the courage to show up unannounced. But that day never comes, because courage is not found, it's built. And you build it by doing what scares you before you're ready. You build it by moving while your hands shake, by standing tall when your knees are weak, by speaking up even when your voice cracks. That's how warriors are made. Not by reading about bravery, but by living it. And this is where most people quit. Right before the shift, right before the breakthrough, right before the version of themselves they've prayed for finally begins to breathe. Why? Because they forgot what they were made of. They forgot that discomfort is not a signal to retreat, it's a sign you're growing. It's a sign you're stepping out of the shell of who you were and into the armor of who you're becoming. Do you think Lincoln didn't feel the weight of the nation on his shoulders? Do you think he waited to feel ready before making decisions that would fracture history number? He acted in the fog, in the fire, in the face of death and division because the purpose was greater than his peace. And that's what purpose does. It pulls you forward even when your feet beg to stay planted. It calls your name when everyone else says, play it safe. It demands that you stop making decisions based on who you were and start acting like who you were built to become. This isn't about perfection. This isn't about feeling fearless. It's about alignment. Because the most powerful life is not the one with the most applause. It's the one that aligns your values with your actions. It's when you say, this is what I believe, and I live like it. This is what I'm chasing, and my habits reflect it. This is who I claim to be, and I prove it in the dark when no one's looking. Self-respect is earned in private. Success is carved in silence. And identity is shaped by repetition, not just revelation. You want to be the person who doesn't fold, who doesn't flinch, who doesn't question every move, then you better start living in agreement with your own standards. Because identity isn't just about who you say you are, it's about what you tolerate. So ask yourself, what are you no longer willing to tolerate mediocrity excuses? The version of yourself that hides behind maybe next time, because your future isn't buried under circumstance, it's buried under compromise. And the day you stop compromising with your time, your energy, your mindset, your boundaries is the day the world shifts. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because for the first time, you stood up and declared, I was built for more. And from this moment forward, I will act like it. That's what it takes. Not hype, not luck, not another motivational clip to get you through another day. What it takes is resolve. What it takes is remembering who you are, who you were before the world taught you to shrink, before you started apologizing for your ambition, before you believed that success was for other people. That version of you still exists, and they're waiting. They're waiting for you to stop avoiding your greatness, to stop postponing your purpose, to stop living like a watered-down version of the person you already know you are meant to be. You don't need more time, you don't need more knowledge. You need alignment, and you need it now. Because time doesn't care about potential. It rewards the one who moves. Now that you've remembered who you are, it's time to act like it. Because knowing is not enough. Wanting is not enough. Even believing is not enough. Action is the proof. Not the kind that happens once. Not the kind you take only when the timing is right or when the stars align or when you feel like it. I'm talking about daily, deliberate, defiant action. Action that breaks patterns. Action that defies history. Action that tells the world I'm not here to exist. I'm here to build something that wasn't here before me. This is where most people fall. Not because they're weak, but because they confuse motion with movement. They confuse thinking with doing. They confuse busy with becoming. There's a world of difference between effort and execution, between I'm trying and I've decided. And the only thing that separates those two disciplines is the bridge between the vision in your head and the victory in your hands. It's the force that turns hope into habits, goals into gains, desire into destiny. And here's the truth no one wants to face. If you're not consistent, you're not serious. Because the future doesn't respond to your mood. It responds to your movement. You want results. Then stop waiting to feel like it. Start moving as if your future depends on it, because it does. And let me tell you what happens when you start living like that. The world resists you. The people around you question you. You'll be labeled obsessive, intense, too focused, too different. And they'll be right. You are different. Because most people aren't willing to live with that kind of urgency. Most people aren't willing to burn the bridges behind them. Most people aren't willing to sacrifice comfort for clarity. But you are. Because you're not trying to be liked, you're trying to be legendary. And you can't be both. But even warriors need fuel. And that fuel is gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness, it's not soft, it's not passive. Gratitude is warrior vision. It's the ability to look at where you are and see the gift inside the grind. To look at the struggle and say, this is shaping me. To look at what others would curse and say, thank you, this is teaching me who I really am. Because when you train your mind to see the lesson, you become unstoppable. Nothing is wasted, not failure, not betrayal, not loss, not pain. Gratitude turns every wound into wisdom. It lets you rise not in spite of the suffering, but because of it. And now we talk about resilience. Not the kind they sell on t-shirts, the kind that's earned in fire. Resilience isn't bouncing back, it's bouncing forward. It's choosing to build when all you want to do is break. It's what Edison tapped into after 10,000 failures. It's what Lincoln leaned on after the weight of a divided nation nearly crushed him. It's what Mandela carried for 27 years behind bars, knowing freedom lived on the other side of discipline and vision. That's not hype, that's not mindset, that's muscle memory. And you don't build it by hoping for peace. You build it by training for war. So stop asking for the pain to go away. Ask for the strength to carry it with purpose. Because the moment you stop fearing discomfort is the moment you become dangerous. But resilience without learning is just repetition. You can endure pain and still stay stuck if you don't extract the lesson. So ask yourself, what did that failure teach me? What pattern just got exposed? What weakness did that moment reveal? What decision got me here? And what choice will take me out? Because every experience is trying to teach you something. Every setback is feedback. Every no is just a sign that says there's a better path if you're willing to find it. The disciplined mind doesn't just react, it reviews. It reflects, it evolves. Because every time you grow, your entire future expands with you. You were not built for ease. You were built for elevation. You were not built to shrink. You were built to shake foundations. You were not built to follow. You were built to forge paths through the dark. So stop explaining yourself. Stop minimizing your ambition. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. You were built for this. So act like it. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. Because the clock is ticking, not just on your time, but on your impact. You've been tested, you've been crushed, you've been overlooked, underestimated, and underestimated again. Good. Because now you've seen what you're made of. Now you know you won't break. Now you know the storm doesn't scare you anymore. Because you are the storm. And what you build from here, what you become from here, will not be a result of chance, but of choice. Your choice. So choose. Choose a discipline. Choose a clarity. Choose action. Choose a purpose. Choose a resilience. Choose the life that's already inside you, waiting to be claimed. There will come a moment when no one's watching, no crowd, no camera, no reward, just you and the silence. And in that silence, a voice will rise, not loud, not dramatic, but steady, unshakable. It will whisper, get up. Do it anyway. Move. And that voice won't be motivation. It won't be hype. It will be identity. Because by then you'll have trained yourself so deeply that discipline will no longer be what you do. It will be who you are. You won't need permission. You won't need applause. You'll move because movement is your standard. This is the moment where most quit. Right before the shift. Right before the ground breaks open and reveals what's been buried in you all along. But not you. Because you didn't come this far to stop. You didn't come this far to almost make it. You came to finish the job. And finishing requires more than willpower. It requires warrior vision. The kind of vision that sees beyond the valley, that sees beyond the failure, that sees through the fog of fear and straight into the fire and walks forward anyway. Because you've already buried the old version of yourself. Now it's time to become the one who was meant to rise. And no, it won't be fair. It won't always be fast. It won't always feel like progress. But don't you dare mistake pressure for punishment. That pressure is proof. Proof that something is forming, shaping, sharpening you. You were built with more in mind. Not for mediocrity. Not for safety. Not to repeat history, but to rewrite it. And history only remembers the few who refuse to go back to sleep. So if you've woken up, Stay awake. Don't crawl back into comfort. Don't sedate the discomfort with distractions. Don't apologize for wanting more. You're not too much. You're finally becoming enough for the life you were called to carry. So what now? Now you decide. Decide who leads your life from this moment forward. Your past, your pain, your patterns, or your purpose, because one of them will write your story. And every time you hesitate, you give the pen back to fear. But every time you move forward, even trembling, you take it back. You don't need all the answers. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need the decision, one decision, to move, to trust, to rise. And when it gets hard, and it will remember this, you were built for this. You were built to carry weight, to walk through storms and stay standing, to lead when others hide, to believe when no one else does, to speak truth when silence is safer, to build discipline when chaos reigns. And not because it's easy, but because it's required. Discipline is not a suggestion, it's survival. And survival is not just about staying alive, it's about staying awake, staying aware, staying aligned with what matters when everything else pulls you away. That's self-mastery, not perfection, not applause, but daily deliberate obedience to the highest vision of who you're becoming. So listen to me carefully. You are not your fear. You are not your failures. You are not your past. You are the one who decides what's next. You are the fire they tried to smother, the voice they tried to silence, the dream that refused to die. You are not weak. You are waiting to be unleashed. And now is the time. Stand up, not for a speech, not for the show. Stand up for the life that's waiting on the other side of your excuses. Stand up for every version of you that never got the chance to become real because fear always got the final word. No more. From this moment on, you move like you were made for more because you were. So rise. Walk into your calling like it's already yours. Speak with fire, work with precision, build with intention. Let your actions become your anthem. Let your routine become your rebellion. Let your discipline silence the doubt and drown the fear until there's nothing left but truth in you. You were built for this, so act like it. And don't look back. If your pulse is steady now, it's not because the fire left, it's because you remembered. You were built to walk through it. Let this be more than a moment. Make it a marker, a decision. And if this stirred something inside, you share it. Comment below. Let your voice become part of someone else's awakening. Because this isn't just a video, it's a signal. And if you're hearing it, then maybe it's time to answer.